All right. Looks like there's a handful of us in here so far. Andrew, you got your photo up there. How you doing? You might be muted.
Off the mute. Well, I got two little kids here, so good thing for everybody.
Oh, there's still Lemmerman, Liz, Braden, Janice. Cool. Keep wondering with this COVID if we're ever going to get together again. I think Rollin will wind up handling this, but we'll let everybody jump on for another minute. We had 33 people. I'm just seeing about a dozen or so, so let's just give half a minute or so. It's kind of hard to be on time. See, Francis has got my picture of the Schmidt Music Building on the screen. Downtown. Or what is that? Yeah, that's a piano company, right? Let's see. Well, it's 10:01, so I guess since this is being recorded, I can just jump into some of this. You know, I think Joe Lemmerman, I'm not sure. I think you have a corp. I'm not positive, but so what I'm trying to teach you guys is that well, Rollin has some slides I think she can show, or she needs to chime in and tell me how to do that. But, you know, when you can set up a S corporation, I'll probably take a number like $75,000 a year of income, but in a setup like that, I can show you how to easily save $7,500 a year in taxes. There's kind of a formula that does this. So what it is it's setting up the corporation and making yourself an employee and getting a check, say monthly, and then dividends maybe quarterly or monthly. As long as you rack up some money in the account, you can pull out a dividend, and the dividends aren't taxed. Rollin, I need you to chime in here and tell me how to use the slideshow. Research setup.
But yeah, it's located in Dropbox, shared recruiting file, presentations.
Well, am I sharing my screen then, or are you?
I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just waiting for PowerPoint to load, but it's starting now. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, it just popped up.
Yes, Raylan, we can see it.
So it looks like I saw a message from Elizabeth Fuller. She already set something like this up. Let's see. We got to see the screen. So, well, okay, let's hit the next slide. So basically the advantage is, you know, setting up the S Corp. You can always have a corporation behind it to help you legally if you ever start buying properties or anything like that. But really the advantage of the being taxed as an S Corp is just to save self-employment taxes. So I guess, yep, she wrote in here that you could set up a corporation, a partnership, a limited liability. Well, we can't have realtors set up partnerships because I can't pay two owners of a company commission. I have to only pay an individual owner of a company commission. So unless, like, if somebody had their wife on there, I could pay them. But say two people in the company can't just make a company together and receive commission through there. It's illegal. This is advantage for self-employed people, and it's basically, yep, just helps you with tax liability issues. So somebody could set up a corporation or a limited liability company and then choose the option to be taxed as an S Corp. What's the next slide?
Hey, Raylan, will you go in presentation mode instead of this so you can get rid of the slides on the left?
Does this work for everybody?
Okay, there's no information on the slide.
Oh, I have to click it.
So you're going to minimize your taxes. I guess, let's see. This is exactly how it's done. You divide up your profits between a salary and dividends. And let's see, although the real estate agent must pay personal income tax on the prior profit, they will only pay self-employment tax on the salary portion. So that's where you're going to save 15% versus, your salary is going to have the unemployment tax like any W-2 employee does. But when you pull out a dividend, then that tax is not going to be, it's not there. And every $10,000 equals $1,500 of savings. Let's see. Yep. If you also set up the legal corporation, it'll protect you against being sued. As a realtor, there's not much to worry about that. But if you start getting into rental properties, we have another agent that we set this up for recently. And instead of using some type of a team name like, Anderson Group LLC, they did something more like AW Enterprises, so that they can use it to do any business venture and then start funneling all of your income through there. So what I have is I have a couple corporations and I funnel the stuff back to one main one, and that's where I have my salary run out of. And that gets a little more complicated. Each of you probably deal with just having one corporation. So let's see. Yep, I think that's the same thing we just talked about. So maybe we can show you how to do it. Let's see what the next slide says. Well, also as a corporation, as corporations are less likely to be audited than a personal person. And so, when you funnel all your car expenses and all your food or hotel or travel and all that stuff, it's a nice way to keep it organized and you're less likely of having audits. Let's see what the filing requirements are. You got to register this at the state of Minnesota. You're going to have to keep clicking the button. And so we register at an S Corp with the state and an S Corp with the IRS. It's very simple to do. I could probably show you a couple links. Like, I could actually, this is just, all these form numbers are something you'd have any accountant do for you. So, Section 1362, I don't know, that's great that it's on this slide, but if you were to set up an S Corp, like I've set up probably a dozen. And so there's just a process that you follow at the Secretary of State, Minnesota. And I could even pull up that site here before we get off just to kind of show you the pattern. Well, I'm going to do that actually in a minute. So let's see what the next slide is, if there's any information on this. And then I think I'll just share screen and show you guys where to jump around and get this going. Can you press the button?
I just did.
Yep. Federal form is called an 1120S. That's the option for an S Corp. And you find that, if you try to do it yourself, you can follow these steps. These steps are also on the state of Minnesota's website on how to start up a business. But once it's also done, then there's a handful of legal newspapers that somebody's supposed to, when you start up any corporation, publish the name that you chose for 2 weeks, so that I guess anybody in the past history that wants to claim that name has the option to do it. It's not, it might be an issue for General Mills. It's not going to be something like Andrew's real estate sales. I don't think it's much to worry about, but it's a legal requirement. What's on the next slide? Yeah, so newspapers usually charge about $25. If anybody gets this slideshow, it looks like we got a link here to one of the newspapers to do that, just to make it easier for you to get this up and running. It's kind of a technical state of Minnesota requirement, but I don't think you would ever have a problem if somebody forgot to do this.
Next one.
Keep clicking through. Yeah. Okay, well, so the entire share of an S corporation, right? Okay. Like an S corporation doesn't necessarily pay taxes. Everything flows back to your personal tax return, and then you pay taxes on your personal tax statement. The S corporation accountant will file the taxes, and then they'll issue a K-1, and that K-1 is kind of like when you get a W-2. That's the amount of profit you pulled out of your S corp, and that becomes part of your tax return. Oh, one key on this is if anybody does this, negotiate with your tax professional, because your personal tax return is not deductible. But what I do is I have them overcharge me on my business return and include the personal. So then it's deductible. Little trick. Let's keep going.
That's the last one.
Okay, so if anybody wanted, I don't know what my interest is in doing this. We handle books for about half a dozen, 7 or 8 companies or people, because I know how to do all these. So we've got accountants. One of our agents went to a guy that my brother sold a CPA firm, and I found out the guy was charging him like $4,000 for the year to do this. And so what I did for a couple agents, because we know how to do it, is we did it for a couple grand a year, but what that included was all the setup and monthly reconciliation of the books so that you can take your profit and loss and hand it over to your accountant at the end of the year. And basically everything's done for you. So you get a report monthly of your income and expenses. We match up a QuickBooks account with your bank statement and we reconcile it all for you. After a few questions, finding out what your expense patterns are, it's pretty simple. The software kind of does it for us. But, whoever did your taxes or plan on having to do your taxes this year, if you bring this up to them, they'll probably charge you a fee and just set this up for you also. Okay, let's see. Why don't you tell me how I can use my screen? And I'm going to show, I'm going to just walk through some websites.
Randy, will you note that once people set up their S Corp, they have to have the payments changed with Francis on who's paid now? Because, right, you don't want your self-paid anymore. You want the S Corp to be how it's paid, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So what we want to do is we want to get you set up so that we're auto direct paying to your S Corp, and then we 1099 your S Corp. That's where you then run all your expenses.
And to be clear, if you hadn't had an S Corp set up this year, it'll still come as a 1099 to your S Corp if you do it by the end of the year, correct? So all of my money, how does that work? Because I wasn't in S Corp until middle of the year.
Right. I think what we did is we went back on yours because actually taxes are, completed annually. So it's kind of, I'm not 100% sure that that's what somebody's supposed to be doing, but I don't think you can set one up in December and say the whole year. It's a tax question. I know we've taken a couple of commissions and then we've reallocated them to the business, but I mean, if it's not set up till such a date, it's probably not legally able to change it in the middle of the year. That's why I'm kind of doing this right now. So anybody who wants to jump on this can start next year off on the right.
Yeah, because Randy presented this in January of 2020 to tell us. So he did present last year, early in the year, you guys to let us know to do this early.
Yeah. So is there a way I could show my screen and I could jump on the state website and kind of show you guys a couple things that you would need to do? Rollin?
If you scroll your mouse at the
okay,
bottom
looks like
of
I
your
got
screen,
a share screen button.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that?
Okay, are you guys seeing my screen? Some email here. You guys see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. So this is the state of Minnesota Secretary of State website. This is where all this stuff starts. And I guess right here, how to start a business. So it's sos.state.mn.us. So one thing anybody does is you want to start a business, you got to find out if the name you want is available. So down here, you can just click on here and you can start, let's see, online service page. Let's see if we get somewhere here. Yep. So yeah, here's so it says the name's taken, you can't use it. That's why a lot of times what we do is somebody comes in and they get so confused about their name, like they want to call themselves a realty group. Well, that's kind of illegal with the state of Minnesota Department of Commerce because the public needs to know if you're with a company and that's kind of like masking, like you're a separate entity. So you're better off doing something more like, See, now you got something that's generic and you can use it for any type of business, because the next thing you can do, there's AB Enterprises LLC's taken. But the next thing you can do is, once you have a generic name like this, you can always add DBAs. So for $40, you can set up, and then, so if you suddenly open up a laundromat, you can call it Andrew's Laundry Services, and you just add a DBA on there. So like AB Enterprises LLC would be, doing business as the laundry company, or the real estate company, or the property management company. So that's why, just to get the corporation set up, I don't like to over confuse this piece. You can easily find a name that's available.
What is DBA?
Once we're here, let me see. What's that?
What does DBA stand for?
Oh, it means doing business as. So if you look at a lot of corporations, like even National Realty Guild used to have a different corporate name, but it did business as National Realty Guild. And then I changed it so that the core name was National Realty Guild. But if you look up something like General Mills, that might not be their actual corporate name. They might be called some investment group doing business as General Mills. And so you just record both names, and then you can operate under that name. Let's see. So after the name's done, I have an account on here, so I could kind of like log in and look at this. But there's, I could probably do a walkthrough on a PDF on the steps to go in here. But after you get your name, then you choose your corporation down here. And this is where you probably, a limited liability company that's domestic is pretty common. But sometimes it's easier to have a corporation, especially as a realtor. Limited liability companies are kind of designed so that there can be multiple partners. So I would just say you get a business corporation that's domestic. And after this is clicked, it starts to generate, I guess, asking who you are and what your address is and how to get in contact with you. And so this is just the first step of starting up a business. After the business is set up, this website gives you what's called articles of organization, and those can be used then to move forward. So then you go to MN Revenue, and this is where you will go and log in and set up, register yourself as a taxable entity. So you register for a state tax ID right here. Now, after that's done, a guy is going to go to the irs.gov and register yourself here. So you upload the Department of the Articles of Organization from the state of Minnesota. So then you give them the Minnesota tax revenue and to the IRS. There's a few other steps with some legal paperwork. It gets kind of hard to set up a bank account without something like, I could probably just pull something up to show you guys what this looks like if you haven't seen it. Yeah, here's a good example. I started this company in 2002, or 2003. See, it had, it was called Realty Guild Limited. I thought it was called something else, and then did business as Realty Guild Limited. But this is what your articles of incorporation look like. Yeah, here's an amendment changing the name. So once you have these, which that first state, the Secretary of State generates, this is what you take to try to open up a bank account. So you could get a checking account, but there's actually articles. Let's see. I don't want to keep opening the same document for you guys. I'm trying to show you something, but yeah, Secretary of State. This is a certificate of name change. We went from Realty Guild to Randy Burg doing business as Realty Guild to National Realty Guild. But these documents are generated by the state's website anyways. What I'm trying to find is, they got another company. This is what somebody needs also. A share purchase agreement. it's kind of odd because if you're not going to sell this company, it's just your own company, but the banks require this legal paperwork. Like Wells Fargo is going to ask for this type of stuff. So I had to create bylaws, corporate shares, and all this stuff. And after that's created, I have templates for this stuff. But after that's created, that I had attorneys make. So after this is created, you can hand this over to Wells Fargo, and they'll set you up with your business bank account. Kind of some formalities here, like, you know, the legal corporation setup says that you're supposed to hold a meeting. So you have a meeting with yourself, and then I guess you document what date that was, and that legitimizes a corporation. Kind of goofy, but it's the law, so that's the way that is. You know, I don't have too much more outside of, I guess, a few questions. I wanted to really get everybody on a. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with this thing. Kind of wanted to get everybody on base before the holiday weekend and stuff like that, and just say hi and try to teach you something. It's kind of reckless to be off from doing it during COVID, so I just can't do it, but I want to.
Hey, Randy, I got a couple of questions offline. Can I give you a call?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So this is Liz.
I got a group of people here waiting for me, so I need a good hour to work with them, but I'm,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, why don't you give me a call when you're free then?
Okay.
You got my number. Thank you.
Yep. All right, you guys, have a good holiday. Stay safe.